Hi, everybody. My name is Mayra de Leon. I am the Communications and Outreach Specialist for Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. Happy to see some familiar faces and maybe some new names coming through the meeting. Welcome. Just to set some introductions and ground rules, these meetings are to help and assist residents throughout Ventura County for the Firewise USA program. And this is a program that we have started since January. We're on I believe, our 6th meeting now. We're excited to just keep guiding people through the Firewise process. So I've been with the Fire Safe Council for about 2 years now, and I'm just really excited to see how far Firewise as a program has reached in the county. So if you are new here, I definitely recommend going into our YouTube where we have all the pre-recorded, the recorded meetings from the last couple of months to give you a wider overview of the Firewise process. If you need tutorials on how to submit your application or how to draw boundary maps as part of the application process, there are some really helpful guides on there. So I really recommend checking out our YouTube. I introduced myself, so I'm going to go ahead and actually pass it off over to Mason.
Hey everyone, my name is Mason Thurman. I'm the programs manager here at Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. I just joined a couple of months ago, so relatively new to this being on this team, but have been working with the team for a couple of years and have been working in fire safety and previously worked with California Fire Safe Council and Ventura County Resource Conservation District. Wore a lot of different hats. So today I am wearing the tech hat and just going to be a little bit of Zoom support. Some of your questions related to Firewise may eventually make their way to me. I do want to mention that our regional Firewise coordinator, Natasha Sasena, would typically be delivering these presentations, but she is unable to make it today. And we also typically have Larry Williams in attendance available for questions. He can't make it today either, but both of them will be in the July workshop. And if you do have questions, you can, of course, still reach out to them. And when they're feeling a little better, they will be able to respond to you. So we have their contact information in here. And I'm going to try and hit the next slide.
Okay, perfect. So just to go over the agenda, we're going to be going over outreach today, outreach strategies and how to gather more engagement of your Firewise communities. No matter where you are in the process, it's important to note that in these meetings, we will have, and there are people that may already have their designation for Firewise USA, and as well as some new faces that maybe are interested in going through the process. So hopefully these workshops are helpful for each type of audience. A big challenge that a lot of people have is, how do I get more people in my neighborhood to, number one, know about Firewise USA, know what the benefits are, and how can we garner more interest? A lot of groups tend to start the Firewise process, but they really get stuck on literally the first step, which is creating a committee to just a group of people that will sort of lead the effort. And so, that's always an important step before you start getting into the weeds of getting your community risk assessment and an action plan. And then at some point after talking about community engagement, I'm going to hand it over to Mason, and then she's going to lead some breakout groups to garner a little bit more discussion individually between the people in the room, and then we'll come back and we'll do the Q&A. We're not expecting this to be a super long meeting, so if we find the need for a break, then we'll do one, but it might not be necessary. We'll see. So let's go ahead and get going. So we'll do the next slide, please, Mason. So just wanted to take a moment and discuss community outreach and engagement. They should go hand in hand, and including engagement in your outreach strategy can really boost participation in the community. This table came from Hawaii's Wildfire Management Organization. So essentially they define engagement as building the relationships and building the trust with your community. And it's the method of how you empower your community and take ownership of those available resources. It's more of a process than an outcome, and it develops over time. And its main goal is to build trust within the community. So I know in the past we've mentioned Firewise USA being a neighbor to neighbor relationship, right? And so this program is a really great opportunity to get to know neighbors. Nowadays, I think it's really easy to just sort of kind of live our lives without ever actually having to interact with our neighbors. And I think this community building aspect is a big part of the success of Firewise USA. So part of the process is keeping residents informed, consulting with them if they have questions about what the Firewise process is, having them involved in any way if they can volunteer for maybe some of the stuff in Firewise USA that talks about doing an outreach program for the neighborhood. Gathering ideas between neighbors really brings in a lot of different perspectives to the table. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is empower neighbors to really lean on each other and provide resources for one another so that hopefully the Firewise process becomes a little bit more successful and a little bit more maintainable. And so if you do like an event, obviously providing food and refreshments is just sometimes just how you get people in the door. And so it's just a good strategy to take. So outreach strategies are a crucial part of that program. It builds community awareness around the wildfire resilient actions. It's an opportunity to recruit folks to your Firewise team, shout out a new program that's maybe available for the community, and then also to share particular goals that are part of the action plans as well. So how you're going to outreach to your community is highly unique to each community. Sometimes it's helpful to use the Nextdoor online program, like an app or something like that. And sometimes door-to-door canvassing could be the most effective outreach strategy. It just depends on what your neighborhood really is attracted to. Knowing your audience is crucial because some neighborhoods are more digitally inclined than others. For example, in Golden Oaks and Ojai, because they're a small mobile home park and they have a community room, the recording hours, it's really easy for them to just fill out a physical form and just drop it off at their community building, right? Whereas a larger HOA might, I know in Ondulando, they built just like a simple Google website and a form. It's an online form that they just fill out to track their hours that way, and then that works for them. Paper formats over digital outreach strategies can work as well. So again, find out what works with your community. You might have to refine your strategy over the years. You may realize and start with one and then realize that the other is more helpful. But the biggest questions, that you want to answer when you're thinking about outreach strategies is just number one, the why, right? You want to get Firewise recognized and you want to have a safer community. When maybe there's a certain time of year or a day of the week, maybe most of the people in your community are not retired and can't do stuff during the daytime, right? How we just discussed that. And then where is there a community room or somebody's home we can invite people to, or a local spot that people tend to gather at. And so in the how is really what we're going to be focusing today, is just like, how can we garner more attention towards the Firewise program by outreaching? And these are just some ideas. They're not the only ones, but we could, again, sometimes door-to-door canvassing can work. Having a community event. I know the Ondulando neighborhood in Ventura, they decided to show the documentary, The Perfect Firestorm, which is the Thomas Fire story, at a community room. And then they made this event. And so they had I don't know, over 100 people show up, and from there they were able to get the word out about Firewise USA. Targeted workshops and presentations. So if you reach out to the Fire Safe Council, we can come out and do a workshop. It could be at a local library that's close to your neighborhood. Community work days, like a chipper day, we can set that up as well. Sending out packets, building out newsletters and social media. The thing that isn't listed on here that I think could be helpful as well is think about your neighborhood, and it's possible that there are organizations and other people that could boost um, interest for your neighborhood in your area. So for example, sometimes, as a nonprofit, we don't have access to Nextdoor as much as we would like, but our resources, we have a really good relationship with Ventura County Fire Department, and so they help us kind of get the word out about our services and programs. So if your neighborhood has maybe a local representative, like an elected official that could help boost information in your area, that's a really good resource. Maybe reaching out to them or reaching out to, like I said, a local library, right? Areas that that people like to gather at. Maybe that a lot of people in your neighborhood, as they're going to work, they stop at a coffee shop or something that's like really popular, and trying to get maybe their collaboration could help boost the attention towards this Firewise USA program and effort. A lot of these ideas don't necessarily have to cost a lot of money at all. Social media could be a free outlook. We'll get into more brainstorming and information sharing in a little bit. Go ahead and do the next slide, Mason. So the program requirements of Firewise USA, essentially, this is a little bit of a review for those that are already going through this process, but just as a reminder, Firewise USA is pretty much still an honor system. It's a recognition, not a certification. So it does not require 100% community buy-in and participation. It is progress, not perfection, right? So in your action plan, it asks that you can put in that you can gain community participation year by year. So let's say we're talking about a community that is only 100 homes. Firewise stipulates that you can have anywhere from 8 to 2,500 homes. That could be a really big neighborhood, right? Let's say that 100 homes is a neighborhood. You can start off by just looking around the couple streets around your neighborhood and say, you know what, we want to start this effort small and then maybe grow later. That's absolutely fine. And so we're starting with 100 homes, but maybe only 8 of us know about the project in the first place. Well, in your action plan, you can, put in there that you would like that by the third, every year you would like to have, 5% more people, like 5 more people every single time know about it and be participating in the program. So as long as we see that sort of progress, I think that's what they really prefer to see. Reporting the activities in one outreach event annually in your online portal. They just require, again, it's 1 hour per unit per year. So if you have 100 homes, they just require 100 hours of that participation every single year. And again, hopefully, as we get more people to understand and participate in the program, then sort of the burden of doing all of that work sort of gets spread out between the neighborhood, right? And again, the 100 hours is a minimum. So if that's sort of like you do your hours, but obviously the more you put in and participation you get out of a neighborhood in mitigation, wildfire mitigation, the bigger benefits you get for that neighborhood. The more resilient that neighborhood becomes. Firewise USA program might not be the right fit for every single community. We've been trying not to marry ourselves to the topic of insurance too much, because a lot of people, the buy-in is saying, oh my gosh, we can be recognized and for an entire neighborhood, get discounts on insurance for our entire neighborhood. It is not a guarantee. And so we just want to reiterate that the whole focus of the Firewise USA program is to make a community more resilient as a whole. And so if you wanted to just individually make your home safer, you can sign up for an assessment from the Fire Safe Council and do the mitigation work yourself. but as a community effort, Firewise is trying to make the whole community safer. But some of those, that sort of byproducts of that is the benefit of possibly getting an insurance discount, or being able to even, number one, be offered insurance in the first place, because there are insurance companies that are recognizing Firewise USA. That's one of the first things they ask. Some of the brokers are asking people when people go to them, and so they ask, like, are you part of a Firewise USA community? And so it is a big help in some cases. We've sort of seen the spectrum of it being very helpful and then maybe not so helpful. So that's why that's a little bit of a disclaimer there. But it's not as easily attainable for some communities. And in those cases, sometimes the best thing to focus is on your own home safety effort. Like I said, some people really get stuck on that first step of trying to get a committee. But once you have that committee, you need a system that can sustainably support the tracking every, couple of years, when you have to actually submit your investment, so that you can stay in good standing. So, okay, so that's pretty much my spiel. I'm gonna pass it over to Mason. She's gonna direct us on breakout room not experiment, but an activity. Yeah, go for it, Mason.
Right. So we think that the crosstalk is really important. And we do want to use this workshop space as an opportunity, not just for us to talk at you, but for you to talk to each other. Is there anybody that recognizes a name and knows for sure that they're in the same community as somebody else in the room? You might have to look at the gallery. Yeah, Deborah, who you matched up with. I think you have to, I can unmute you actually. Okay,
yeah, hi. Hi,
Hi.
I match up with Glenn.
Okay, with Glenn. So I'm going to make sure to put you in different groups so then you can come back, and we can maximize the networking here.
Okay.
I'll try and manually put everybody into a group. It looks like we'll do 3. Unless Larry, you really want to be part of a group. Well, maybe I'll throw you in a group and you can decide if you want to go or not. We do have Larry, by the way, Larry Williams from the fire department, who will be available for questions at the end. So the guiding questions that we would love for you to talk about, pretty simple. What strategies do you use that work well, and what strategies don't work as well? You can maybe identify a top 1 or top 2 between you all, and then talk about your current outreach challenges. Try and use the time as a lessons learned conversation, rather than this is just so hard. Like, we want it to be problem solving, right? Rather than just focusing on what doesn't work. So try and when somebody shares a challenge, offer perhaps a suggestion or a lesson learned there. You have a question, Pam?
I just wanted to, as a disclaimer, admit that I don't even live in this area. I am on the board of the Fire Safe Council for Monterey County. We are thrilled with the progress we've made with our Firewise program. But I just wanted to let you know, when you separate me out, I'm visiting family in Ventura. We missed one cul-de-sac, the Thomas Fire, but I'm very interested in what your Fire Safe Council does, but I'm not in a Firewise community. Okay.
It sounds like you still might be a good resource too. So maybe you'll be able to provide.
Thank you. I'll try.
Suggestions. Awesome. So we included here, just as a reminder, some examples of strategies, so you can kind of compare things that you do or things that you don't do, maybe you want to try. So those are our guiding questions. If you find yourself talking a little bit sideways of those, but it's more productive, that's awesome. We would love a spokesperson from the group to just report back to all of us what you shared in your breakout room. So we'll do that. We'll reconvene at 1:35 p.m. and then I'll ask who the spokespeople are and if they're willing to share. So we just have the ground rule, of course, of being respectful, willing to share and listen. If you notice you're oversharing, go ahead and pass that mic off to anybody else. Or if you see somebody in your group who doesn't have much to say, they probably still are a great resource, so you can call on them to bring it up. Use the 15 minutes as well, or I guess maybe we'll push it to 1:40 because we're a little bit past time here. So we'll reconvene at 1:40. I'll see if I can change that for you. And enjoy. Let's do the breakout rooms. Okay, so I'm gonna use my timer app on my phone, and give each group that 2 minutes to share out. I know that Glenn is one of our spokespeople, so can I put you first, Glenn? Okay, I'm gonna ask you to unmute there. And whenever you're ready.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, my name's Glenn. I met with Doug and Barb, and we talked about Barb's in Dos Vientos, and she's just starting a group, and so we talked about potentially getting her HOA involved to help communicate with the community, and we've done that with our community, and it's helped with organizing. And then Doug also had some good feedback about the risk assessment, and also getting committee members from other areas of the property, which I hadn't thought about, but it makes sense, for large communities, because different, people in different parts of the community have different needs and different things to address.
Okay, awesome. And you did that all in less than 2 minutes. That's great.
I might left some stuff out, but those are the.
No, that's perfect. Okay. What about from Myra, who was the spokesperson in the breakout room you were in?
I believe our spokesperson was Deborah. There you go.
All right,
Hi.
Deborah, go
Hi,
ahead.
yeah, I met with Leslie from CME and Pam from Ventura. Pam is having a little problems, which I think all our communities probably have. There's some renters and the homeowners aren't around, so it's hard to reach out to those people, or some neighbors aren't approachable. And Leslie has a little more information about, once you start, well, first of all, once you start, and you're successful for a while in a community, you can get burnout. It's hard to have sustainability because people think, oh, you've done it, and it's going to take care of itself. So it's not. And Leslie also had some great information about just, which is true, that just it's the individual needs of the homeowner that you have to focus on, which I think is important. In our community, we have done, as Glenn said, I know we've done outreach with newsletters and meeting, and now we're kind of cracking down to really do more hopefully events. I feel strongly with events. So I think basically we got out of our breakout that you have to do it incrementally, and you're not going to get 100% of the houses, but I feel like even if you do your own defensible space, you're going to have a step towards success, because the fires are not going to stop. So even if you do it incrementally, people can, it becomes touching. Maybe, you have an event, which is a great, also, I think Myra said, you can do a fire truck event, having, kids come and see the firemen, and then more people are interested. And basically how to get a hold of your neighbors and get them interested.
Perfect.
I'm trying to read my notes.
Timing.
Okay.
That was perfect timing. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Awesome. All right. And then our final breakout group, we had Larry and Bradley and Maria, I think. Who's
Oh, they're right there. Okay, I took it off. Yeah, we again talked a lot. We talked a lot about getting people involved, and Deborah, I really like, you outlined the newsletters, the meetings, events. there's a couple people in the community on the committee here in Canyon Cove and Oak Park. We're going to go door to door, and we did apply and receive some funds, some grant funds that is going to be hopefully another intro to go door to door and say, hey, these are the dryer vents, that we've purchased, and this is how we should install them, and why. And the fire truck events, I'm really hoping that we can do this with, hopefully the firemen are not as busy, too busy to come out to our communities, because I think that's a great way to have to get people involved, get the kids out, distribute information after we go, literally are going to go door to door to door. We talked a bit about updating and how to navigate, I guess is the best way to put it, the Firewise site, and new assessments and keeping up with the 3-year plan. Both Bradley in Malibu and me here in Oak Park are already certified. So the next step in that regard is, managing the 3-year plan and how to get that kind of updated, and when we have to do that. Sorry.
15. You have 15 more.
Okay. One thing we didn't get to, and I'm just going to throw this in there, I would love to hear how people are utilizing the Tripper program.
Ooh, okay. Awesome. And that is time. Okay, great.
Under the wire.
So it was perfect. Yeah.
Before we get to the Q&A, can I just throw something that I literally just came up with on the spot? So we, as the Fire Safe Council, we had a meeting earlier with Ventura County Fire Department, and we are collaborating this year on a display at Ventura County Fair. And so I'm just throwing it out there that part of what we're thinking of to highlight on the display is going to be a section where we want to inform and talk about Firewise USA. And so my idea right now that I just thought about is if there are either neighborhoods that are already recognized or neighborhoods that are trying to garner attention for their neighborhood, basically I want to open it up so that if you can create like a 1-page flyer about your specific neighborhood, I'd like to highlight it in our Ventura County Fair display. So if you can come up with that, that's free publicity at the Ventura County Fair that we can give you too. So send that over to us. Larry, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, are you guys planning on maybe, because I think Max before was working on a map of all the recognized communities, but having something so someone can, if they ask the question, hey, are we in a Firewise community? One they can look at saying, hey, these ones are recognized, but also which ones are in process and a contact person for that one that's ongoing, because the people may not know and say, oh yeah, here you go.
Exactly.
This someone's in process. Let's call them. They find out what we can do to help or get information.
Absolutely.
We're refining our tracker right now, and there's a mapping feature involved in the tracker. So I think that'd be great to display at the fair too. And if we can ask for permission to share that resident leader contact information from you all. And if you provide permission, then we can put, little cards or a little bit of information at the fair display too. Thanks for bringing it up, Myra. I think that's awesome.
For sure. I think I'll make that a note to talk to Natasha about that and see if we can get that information out to Firewise leaders.
Yes, definitely related to your outreach efforts, and hopefully could help with some of the outreach challenges that you all were discussing before. With that, we're going to take, I believe we have 15 more minutes. So we'll end right at 2:10. 15 minutes for the Q&A. And if you don't have any questions, or if for any reason you need to drop off before that, you're totally welcome to just, say bye in the chat if you want. We do have that chat feature. And if you want to raise hands now, we will go through and do our best to answer your questions. And if it'll probably be Myra, Larry answering a lot of them.
For sure. Let's go with Pam. Yeah.
Unmute.
So we have 48 Firewise communities throughout Monterey County and about 19 in the hopper. So I'm very excited to see what's happening down here as well. We have many of the same issues that you have. 3-year burnout is what we're calling it, Firewise burnout. And I love some of the ideas that came up out of the discussions with Myra and with our group. One of the things that we have heard, I also sit in on the California Fire Safe Council County Coordinator Program.
Oh, great.
I'm assuming you have one here in Ventura. You're one of the counties that's listed. And I find the information that comes out of that program extremely helpful in our continued development. One of the things as far as outreach, this always seems to be a big issue, but I can't remember if it was Sonoma County or another, but they're working with the schools and they're getting a lot of good information out to the families in the communities, to the schools by doing, and we haven't started that yet.
That's
and
a
I'm
great idea.
But I think it's working really well for those, and for those of you who are sort of struggling, you've got tons of schools down here, lots of school kids I see, so that's great. The other thing that you have that we are just starting on, and this is what, Myra, I'd like to speak to you about, is your Firewise Leaders Program. We are with 48 Firewise communities. They're clustered in different areas. And I'd really like to have some information about how that program is working and how they help coordinate with other wannabe Firewise communities like Leslie getting started, and how we can support that with those leaders. So if you have information you could share with me, I'd greatly appreciate it. And
sure.
Thanks so much for letting me sit in today.
Of course. Welcome. Thank you so much, Pam. Yeah, that I would probably say that discussion, definitely we can have that discussion, although I feel like Natasha, who wasn't able to be here today, she's our regional Firewise coordinator. So I'm going to actually just enter into the chat and say, I'm going to leave my contact information there, but she is probably the best resource for you on discussing and brainstorming how we're connecting Firewise leaders to each other. I know we've been brainstorming like having mixers for the leaders in the future, like having them not just on Zoom, but in person mixers and that sort of thing to try to get people to information share that way. But again, Natasha really is the resource for that. But we'd be happy to connect you for sure and make that introduction. I hope that answered that. Let's go to Maria.
So I just wanted to, mention what I said a second ago, that the CHIP program, I think, is another way of getting people involved. It's a way of expressing to them. Maybe there's a way for you to save some money, but I don't know if anybody else has ever utilized it, because to me, if my neighbor has a gardener or I have a tree service that comes out, they do the chipping. So I'm not saving anything unless I cut down my own, I trim my own trees and bring it out to the curb and have somebody come out to be chipped. I'm just curious how others might be using that, or what the intention is, how to use it.
I think I could take this, but I do have a follow-up question. Are you referring to Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council's chipping program and how to use it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we're currently streamlining the process, and I should also mention to you all that we're actively refining a Firewise assistance in a request form right now. So in the coming weeks, we're expecting to launch that in the next 1 to 2 weeks. So in the coming weeks, what that process would look like is indicating on this form that you're interested in doing a chipper event and collaborating with us on a chipper event. We can do the chipper events outside of just the June 1st clearance deadline because, right, the fire department, Larry, you can speak to this if you would like, but we're getting messaging that clearance is year round. So we can do these chipper events and clearance events year round. So once you indicate on that form, or even if you prefer, indicate to myself or Natasha via email that you would like to do a chipper event, then it really is just a conversation between Natasha, myself, etc. It's probably mostly going to be me as your point person on setting that event up. And ideally, you are responsible for coordinating those logistics of when you want the event to be, creating a flyer for when that event is happening, distributing the flyer. We can assist you if you need it, but if you do have the resources to make that happen, we say you go ahead and do it and then invoice us for the costs, especially if you're already a recognized site. And then once you have the event and an invoice from, or prior to the event, you have an invoice from the contractor that is going to be conducting the chipping service, you would send that to us and we would cover the invoices. There is like
an event essentially where one chipping unit would come out and do multiple homes if the homeowner brings it to the curb.
We can do, depending on each individual site, it could be a drop-off event or a curbside event. So the neighborhood and the location really is the deciding factor there. If there a lot of neighborhoods, it lends itself well to that curbside, and we can reimburse the invoice for that or cover the invoice in advance of the event. If you know that it's a really tight neighborhood and it's going to be hard to get that chip truck through kind of like some windy areas, and we do have this kind of like larger area that we can park a chipper and like literally the chipping machine and a dumpster, and that, then maybe you're going to be better suited for a drop-off event. Does that make sense? That'll be really case by case on the geography of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Let's go to Deborah.
You got it?
Yeah, there I got it. Sorry. Yeah, no, I just had a follow-up question on the flyer for the VC fair. Where do I get information on the deadline and basically what you want on the flyer?
For sure. So like I said, I literally thought about that on the spot right before I mentioned it. So since those logistics have not been
need it, yeah.
But I would say in the chat, my email is on there. And so if you want to submit something, I would say let's do that. The Ventura County Fair, the first day of the fair, I believe, is July 31st. And we would set up maybe like the prior week. So I would say it is June 20th, 21st right now. Let's say by mid-July.
Yeah, maybe July
15th. That I would, our community, a representative would bring to you or email it and you would bring it.
You can something email us and then we could put the flyer out. Or
you can have them printed and drop off to us.
Printed and drop off to us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to Glenn, and if it's something we want to do, one of us will email you for the information. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Bye.
I might have I'll talk about it with Natasha, and since she typically has a contact list of her Firewise contacts of the leadership and the people that are working on Firewise. And so if you get her emails after I talk about it, maybe she'll probably send out sort of like the official announcement to with the logistics of the fair flyer, and we'll try to put as much detail in there as possible so that hopefully we're answering those type of questions. And then that way, if you have any follow-up, again, feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Any other questions that came up? Sorry, Mara.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple of questions, but they're not demand generation related. So if I can I don't know if Larry is still on, or if Myra, you can answer this, but one
You
of the
can try.
questions for the risk assessment is about skirting underneath decks or whatever. And my question is, what is our overall recommendation around skirting? What do we want to happen with skirting?
Yeah, I'll let Larry answer that one.
Hi, Doug. Yeah, so
Hey,
that's
Larry.
actually that whole risk assessment. I spoke to the NFPA rep that was at our 800th Firewise event. The whole assessment form needs to be changed because they combine the skirting for the house and the decks all into one, and they're really
Right.
two completely separate issues.
Right.
But it is subject to building code chapter 7A requirements based on for the house. The house should have skirting 100% down to down to the dirt and stuff. But if you
Yeah.
got these big overhangs, then they don't really require them to be skirted. But the same criteria is based on the distance, then what type of material that is acceptable. That's where we should be going, is what the building code recommends for skirting material and how it's installed.
Okay, and what does it recommend for skirting material if you're like doing a decking, or it's probably the same material for a deck or a house, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a non-combustible rated or rated type of material. It's basically, think about you're extending the wall down.
Got it.
And
if you've got an elevated
and everything
deck
like that.
If you've got a deck that's 5 feet off the ground and you want to, do you screen it in underneath? Would that be the idea?
I don't have it in front of me. I think it used to be a 30-inch threshold. If you were greater than 30-inch, then you had, if you're greater than 30-inch, then you had to protect the underside of the decking as the option versus full skirting all the way down.
Got it.
But if you're under 30-inch, then the primary thing is to use the appropriate building material to skirt it. The key is keeping out anything from underneath the deck, especially leaves and debris and stuff that can ignite and then expose the underside of the deck.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks, Larry. I appreciate that. Sorry, I know that's tangential to the topic, but
All good. Deborah, did you have some extra questions? I see the little hand is still up, so okay.
If no one else has a question, I'll respond to the group item we discussed during our breakout, and that was about timing of your how much information can you use for your application, and then what about renewal? So the conversation with Cal Fire is they'll allow up to a year prior to your submittal date for your first application. As we get closer toward the end of 2024, they're not going to want to see 2023 stuff. Right now, the last 2 months, all the new communities being recognized are actually getting recognition through 2025. So a lot of them, though, only put 2024 through 2026 on their action plan, but they're not required to renew to the end of 25. So that brings up the timing. It's about time to start changing our new action plans being submitted, be 2025 through 2027, because what you're doing to get your initial, will be there, and then the rest of 2024 you get to roll over into 2025 because you're not required to renew. And the way you can tell is when you look at your portal, and I'm going to do a quick someone else is sharing.
We can
That's me.
stop that share.
Yeah. I'll just show you my portal screen with all the portals, and you'll see the difference of what you're looking for. And share. All right. Is everyone seeing my portal here?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll see if you're working on your application not submitted, then you got a chance to continue. They're looking at the 2024 pending. So these are new ones they haven't gone through. When you get into here for Braemar Gardens, their process is complete. You get to view their application. They're in good standing, but when you look at their certificate, they actually were given good standing through all the way through 2025. And
Hmm.
there's nothing about renewal. But as you get further down, look at Deer Creek, who's in good standing for 2024, but they've been a community for a while. So now they get changed over at the beginning of each year to start the renewal application. And this is where now you can start uploading all your information as you're going through the year. You don't have to wait to the end. So that's sort of how you can tell us where you are with everything for your individual community. Is you're going to see that information there or the information up in here.
Mhm.
And for the newer ones, you don't want this. Get a hold of us because we can help. We can tell you what's going to what potentially cause it or what you can do to improve it.
Really quick, Larry, how did you get to that screen? I know
Portal.
you're special, but you get to see everybody. How do I get to that screen
You
see
can't.
Canyon Cove?
No, you can't. For Canyon Cove, you only get to see your Canyon Cove. And so here's your application was complete, everything. So when you look at your certificate, I can't read it here. But here, look at it. You've programmed for 20 and as a participating site in good standing throughout the 2025 calendar year. So Canyon Cove doesn't have to do the renewal this year.
Okay.
Got it.
So in your
I
own
wasn't
page,
I
you will
wasn't
see.
trying to see everybody's numbers. I just didn't know how to get to mine. So yeah.
I get to see everyone's because I'm a regional coordinator.
Yeah.
Along
You're
with
special.
yeah.
That certificate of
Okay.
recognition portion will show you. They'll have
Okay,
it on
great.
page.
So,
Thank you.
Maria, you are able to, as a Firewise leader, you are able to see your own process, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
good.
I can get into the portal. I uploaded everything.
Okay, just making sure.
She's there.
Perfect. So we are just at 2:11. So I wanted to just I guess officially close out the meeting. And so thank you, Larry, for showing us that. That was actually really helpful. And we really hope that these workshops are extremely helpful for you guys. Again, we're recording this and we will put this up on our YouTube as soon as I have had enough time to upload that and edit a little bit. I always sort of condense a little bit just so that we don't have these like random lulls in the YouTube. And so give me a couple days to do that, and then that should be up on our YouTube channel. And Mason, do you have any closing statements?
No, I don't think so. As long as you know to visit our web page as well. I'll just put that into the chat. You probably are all familiar with it. There's the Firewise sub page that has a Q&A and tons of things. And so if there's something that we didn't get to today, it might be on there. And if it's not on there, Myra already put hers and Natasha's emails in there. So please do reach out. We're happy to help you. And we're all in close communication. So we'll bump your question to the person who is correct for answering it. Thank you so much for your time and for coming.
Thank you, guys. We're going to go ahead and end the meeting now. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Have a great
hopefully.
weekend.
You too.